Hi, it's me, a guy whose ex is gonna be pissed if she sees him being more vulnerable with thousands of internet strangers than he ever was with her. So I've been uploading videos of some variety to this YouTube channel for 15 years. That's 3/5 of my life. And for most of that time, they were not being seen by enough people for what I said in them to be of any real consequence or get any real pushback. And thank God, because this one definitely would have gotten me canceled. Yikes!
Oh look! A wild Asian appeared!
What? That's racist!
But then in the past 2 years or so, to my eternal gratitude, my videos have started to occasionally be seen by hundreds of thousands of people. Which also means more people to take issue with what I say and call me out on it. Now, obviously, a lot of the qualms people have with me are ridiculous, and I don't feel bad about them at all. Like the concerning amount of people who were furious at me for saying I was excited for the Odyssey movie. People talk about that movie as if it was made using slave labor. Like it's a moral imperative to boycott it because the trailer doesn't look good to them. History nerds are scary, man. Still, after reading way more comments on my videos than my therapist would say is healthy, I've realized that a lot of the time commenters have taken issue with something I've said, they were completely valid too. As I've said things I definitely could have phrased differently to better illustrate the point I was trying to make. There were things that I should have provided more relevant information about, and things that were just straight up factually incorrect. Most said with an unearned amount of confidence. And the straight up incorrect statements especially have happened enough times that I have to accept the reality that I am bad at research. Or at least I've been kind of lazy with it. I think it's partly been because of my efforts to get videos uploaded in a timely manner, and also kind of using the internal excuse that I've always just intended my videos to be funny over anything else. Still though, research is definitely an area that I should have been treating with more time and effort when it comes to writing my videos. Especially considering the heavy, serious world issues I can sometimes get into. And even though I'm not so delusional to think I have a huge platform or anything, I know 35,000 subs is nothing in the grand scheme of internet clout. It's big enough that I feel I really need to start being careful with what I'm saying, especially when reporting facts. I mean, as someone with nothing more than a bachelor's degree in screenwriting, on paper, I'm not really qualified to speak on any of the things that I do. So if I want to continue to do so and for people to listen, the least I can do is make sure what I'm saying is well researched and phrased. And I probably could have just quietly improved this aspect of my videos going forward and been fine. But as videos where I either regret something I said or how I said it remain public and continue to be seen by people, it's kind of been eating away at me. So I wanted to make this video going through those regretful statements to kind of publicly make amends for them and hopefully usher in a new era of integrity and care in regards to what I say in my videos going forward. I'm curious to see if people will think I'm being too hard on myself with this video or not. But first, I'd like to thank my friends at Saily for sponsoring this video. So picture this, you land in another country after a series of long flights, but you don't have service. So before you can call a ride to your hotel to catch up on some much needed sleep, you either gotta wait in line at the airport to get an overpriced foreign SIM, or drain your bank account for an international plan with your main provider. So thank God for the app Saily, which you can set up at home before you travel. And in minutes, you'll have service anywhere you're going. It's available in over 200 destinations, so even if you're traveling to multiple countries in one trip, you just need to sign up for Saily once and you're set. Plus, they offer 24/7 customer support. They notify you when you've used up 80% of your data so you can top up in just a few clicks before you run out. It's compatible with both iOS and Android devices. Their built-in ad blocker prevents browser ads from loading and can reduce data usage by up to 28.6%. And if for whatever reason your device isn't compatible, you get a full refund. There's no good reason to not try it. And for my viewers, if you sign up up using the link below, this QR code, or download the app and use the coupon code CourseGuard at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% off their data plans. My last name is a coupon code. I feel like I've finally made it. Thank you again to Saley for sponsoring this video. So to start, in my video where I watched every David A.R. White movie when discussing the Christian film 6, The Mark Unleashed, I said this in regard to a scene that didn't sit right with me. I'm just really turned off by the interpretation of Christianity that this movie presents. Like, there's this guy who willingly goes to his execution because he's just so sure that he's about to be in a sick afterlife with his savior.
Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken but endures forever. But to those who reject your ways, bring judgment.
And I couldn't help but think that's what everyone at Jonestown was thinking before their deaths, man. I said as a blanket statement that everybody who died in the 1978 Jonestown Massacre did so willingly because they were convinced something special awaited them in the afterlife. When in reality, many of the victims, including children, were forcibly injected with the poison, forced to drink at gunpoint, or just plain shot, which is completely different from willingly marching towards death like the guy in the movie. This was a very foolish mistake because even though I didn't know much about Jonestown when I said it, I still don't, but want to learn more. I did know generally how high the death toll was and that children were involved. Even without doing research, if I thought about it for 2 more seconds, I would have realized that yeah, obviously all 900 people weren't stoked about what happened. Shouldn't have said something so confidently about a topic I knew so little about. Alright, next one's especially regretful in my video about MAGA AI slop. When discussing this obviously staged TikTok where a woman pretends to angrily refuse to sit next to a guy wearing a MAGA hat.
Oh, no.
Excuse me?
I'm not sitting next to someone wearing that hat.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry.
What's the problem?
You're wearing a MAGA hat? I'm not sitting next
Just
to
a hat?
I'm
Yeah.
a woman and you're voting to take my rights away? I don't think so. Nope.
I said this. Also, let's not pretend like there aren't definitely some Republicans who would freak out like this if a trans woman or Muslim person sat next to them on a plane. There are crazies on both sides of the political aisle. It's not fair to lump us all in with ours, and I know you guys don't want to be lumped in with yours. I cringe hearing it. So obviously, there are crazies on both sides of the political aisle is such an overly inoffensive and simplified statement. Because in America, someone will be called a radical leftist just for like being a socialist, whereas the extreme right wing are like white supremacists. I can't completely remember, but I think my terrible phrasing here was because this was right after Charlie got kirked. Everyone was claiming immediately that the shooter was like a radical leftist trans person. Tensions were high, and I think I was just unnecessarily anxious about people with ideologies similar to mine being characterized as violent. But in hindsight, that was ridiculous and cowardly, because all the right-wing ghouls making those claims were obviously full of shit, had the worst of intentions in making them, and regardless of the politics of one shooter, who didn't even turn out to be trans, by the way, so they were just baselessly claiming that to vilify trans people. But regardless of that shooter's identity, I knew that in America, it was still statistically far more likely for politically motivated violence to be right-wing than left-wing. Also, I said there are crazies on both sides of the political aisle when the lady in the video wasn't even acting that crazy in the grand scheme of things. The point I was ultimately trying to make, which I still stand by, is that most people who don't like Trump would not behave this way in response to someone wearing a MAGA hat. If enough did, they wouldn't have felt the need to stage a video of it happening. Then later in that same video, I said this in regards to AI use in general, which some people got mad about. And I know I'm being the stereotypical left-leaning person by hating on AI art, but to be clear, I don't think I'm as anti-anything AI as some people are. Especially as a video editor, I'm open to it being used as a tool to streamline the more menial and technical steps in the artistic process. Look, I hate generative AI, and would not encourage using it for anything that would replace an act of genuine human artistic expression. The type of tool that I meant I wouldn't be opposed to the use of was like video editing tools that can automatically remove audio gaps, or like content-aware tools in Photoshop. Tools that aren't considered generative AI, and arguably not considered AI at all depending on your definition. And I knew those were the types of tools I was referring to, so I don't know why I didn't specify. I'm with most of you guys that having AI write something or generate an entire video for you is lame clown shoes shit. I will admit though, those Sora videos of a Harambe musical did crack me up.
When the walls feel so high, I can hardly see the sky.
I'll be light in the dark, there's a beat inside my heart.
I'm sorry, I was stoned. Alright, next, a few things I said in my video on the Christian movie I'm Not Ashamed, which told the story of Rachel Joy Scott, the first victim of the Columbine shooting who was a Christian. The movie depicts her as a Christian martyr, basically, where one of the shooters asks her if she believes in God, and her saying yes is what ultimately causes him to shoot her.
Do you still believe in God?
No, I do.
Then go be with him.
To which I said, only that is not what happened. The historical journalistic consensus of what actually happened is that the shooters shot Rachel from afar, did not know her personally or that she was a Christian, and were targeting their peers semi-randomly, not based on ethnicity or religion or anything. So everything I said there was technically true, but there were more relevant details I should have included. An interaction similar to that actually did happen, but it was between one of the shooters and student Valine Schnurr, who actually survived the shooting. And that interaction was then misattributed to both Rachel and another Christian victim of the shooting, Cassie Bernal. And both Cassie and Rachel's parents went on to write books perpetuating that it was asked to their respective daughters before they were killed. Then I said the shooters didn't know Rachel personally or that she was a Christian. Well, according to like one book, Rachel and Dylan Klebold did have an interaction at a talent show, but still, I wouldn't really consider that knowing each other personally. Then in the tapes Dylan and Eric Harris recorded of themselves, they did mention a Christian peer named Rachel being annoying, but they had other Christian peers named Rachel they were more likely referring to. Peers who, unlike Rachel Scott, were in the same grade as the boys. Then I said they were targeting their victims semi-randomly as opposed to based on race or religion. That's kind of contested, but based on who the victims were, it seems to be somewhat true. Then I also said in this video about the movie including scenes of the boys learning about evolution and playing violent video games. I can't help but feel like they're partially trying to blame video games and the teaching of evolution in school for what the boys ultimately did. Also, I don't feel I need to tell you that they didn't once bring up a lack of gun control as a possible contributing factor to what happened, because the PureFlix crowd wouldn't be too fond of that. That is kind of a moot point because Eric and Dylan got their guns illegally. That I really should have looked up before saying anything. I feel really bad about that. I was just trying to quickly produce a simple video on a movie I thought was bad. But in hindsight, as the movie was depicting such a tragic real event, I really should have done more research than just, I'll be honest, skimming Wikipedia articles. And then the video got 100,000 views, so I've been really anxious about what I wish I had done differently. Okay, next in my video about red pill influencers, when describing a theoretical scenario of how a young boy could fall down the red pill manosphere pipeline, I said this. But also, more often than women giving advice, he'll hear frustrated women voicing their grievances with and often hatred of men. And listen, I know that historically, men have more than earned every negative reputation they have. And I'm sure that based on the lived experiences of most of the women voicing their hatred, that it's completely justified and they have the right to voice that publicly. I'm not even saying they should stop. But what I am saying is that I could see how for this theoretical young boy who I'm still running with the metaphor about, for him with no dating or relationship experience, I could see for him it being discouraging and confusing that it seems like so many women are mad at him for behavior he hasn't even made the mistake of participating in yet, you know? And then I went on to describe the boys discovering and watching the likes of Andrew Tate. And some people accused me of blaming women who complain about men online for boys falling down that pipeline. And even though I really did try to not sound like that by saying that men have earned every negative reputation they have and that women should be allowed to voice those grievances publicly, the fact that some people still interpreted that as me blaming women makes me wish I didn't say it at all. And in hindsight, I see how me bringing that up at the point in the video that I did kinda kinda made it sound like it was the first and most vital step in boys gravitating towards the manosphere, when obviously the only people really at blame for that phenomenon are the red pill influencers themselves and the people in control of the social media platforms we use. And I was just trying to make an extra point that like really young middle school aged boys being exposed to all the dating and gender discourse on the internet at once before they can really distinguish actual grievances from like rage bait and satire, and before they understand that like culturally and historically women have earned the right to complain about men as much as they want and it be seen as empowering, while men complaining about women is generally seen as toxic. And like, I understand all that and think it's fair, but I could see, if you're 12, it being confusing. I don't know. Just talk to your kids before people on the internet can. That's my point. But it's true that it probably doesn't matter what women online say or how they say it. Middle school boys just aren't gonna listen to them regardless. And really, it's just the unrestricted internet access and the fact that red pill influencers exist at all that are to blame for so many boys flocking to them. Creator Paul Platt made a great video, "Everyone is making money off the gender war except you," that I highly recommend. It basically makes the point I was trying to much more successfully. And honestly, that whole topic of dating and gender probably isn't one I'll touch again because it's one people are understandably very sensitive about. Also, talking about it causes people to speculate about my sexuality and personal life, which I despise. Okay, lastly, I would like to address a few points I made in my recent video about the far-right satire channel Freedom Tunes. First, I looked at a sketch where modern-day America phenomena are being described to men in colonial times, in an attempt to frame them as like extra ridiculous.
Imagine an advanced future where you can travel miles in mere minutes while sitting perfectly still, using an incredible horseless travel chamber.
Ooh.
But select travel chambers have a crazed man with a knife who's allowed to stab you.
Why?
Now, I assumed that this was in reference to the killing of Jordan Neely, because in an older Freedom Tunes video about the supposed dangers of public transportation that I looked at in my older video about them, I'm almost certain was in reference to that.
Well, I've been here at the subway station for about 15 minutes, and I've yet to witness a murder. A statistical anomaly occurred.
But many commenters pointed out that because this video specifically mentions being stabbed on public transportation, that it was likely in reference to the more recent killing of Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska on a light rail in North Carolina. Which is fair, I think they're right, and I should have caught that. However, the theoretical scenario being described in the Colonial Times video was one where someone gets in legal trouble for killing their attacker specifically because the attacker was black.
You can never, under any circumstances, stop an African from hurting you on the horseless travel chamber, or you'll go to jail.
Nothing resembling that happened in the killing of Zarutska. Nobody killed her attacker and went to jail as a result. So I think Freedom Tunes is referencing both that and Jordan Neely here, which I think really muddles whatever point they're trying to make, as those were two very different incidents, and just the framing of public transportation being the thing at fault for them is strange. Not to mention having some racist undertones. So even though I regret missing everything this sketch was referencing, I still think it doesn't work as it's going after the wrong systemic issues. And with that, I have addressed everything I seriously regret saying in past videos. And will I still say incorrect things or things I regret in the future? Definitely. Again, nothing especially qualifies me to have any sort of platform. But since the cosmic dominoes have fallen in my favor so that I do now have something resembling one, I want to take it more seriously, which will mean researching topics I'm not already an expert on more thoroughly before I speak on them, and if I ever feel I don't have the time or energy to do that, not making a video on them until I do. Thanks for watching. In hindsight, I realized this video was way more for my peace of mind than it was something my audience was demanding. Next time we'll do something more fun, I promise. Bye.